why today we are also talking about something interesting here is that I would like you to look at how do we talk about building capital? How do you talk about building your net worth? How is it going to work? Is it possible or not? Because both of us are going to share our story a little bit here and there, just to highlight, not to say, tell you, oh, because it's very difficult to do so. No, but I think it's because knowledge. I think information is knowledge. If the knowledge is there, you probably know exactly what you can do. Don't wait until last minute when you have a choice, but you never do it, then it's really sad. So that's why I really hope that all of you can really call your friends out. Hey, please quickly join us, because why? We're going to share with you in greater detail, and more information will be shared in a short while. I tell you, stay towards the end of the seminars. You'll probably have more takeaways, and if there's some question here and there, we'll be happy to answer some of the questions.
Actually, Swing,
yes,
there's one reason why people should stay and also bring in. At the end of today, I'm going to give an opportunity where people, one of them can honestly have an opportunity to bring back home $108,000.
Wow.
$108,000.
So they must stay to the end,
Right
then
to
they
the
can
end.
know the answer how to go about doing it, right?
Yes.
Good. So
Okay.
that's the reason why I guess your friends here, right? You should also be coming here to find out exactly. Today we are so lucky, we have people who are in the Facebook, we have people who are in the TikTok as well. So hello everybody in the Facebook and the TikTok people, right? Remember, stay towards the end. And for those people who are in the Facebook and the TikTok, because we are not going to do the whole live throughout this session, but if you really want to join us, clicking onto the link and join us in the Zoom environment so that you can see clearly and understand more, and stay towards the end, and you would know exactly how you can be the lucky winner out there to win away 108,000. So this is very interesting that you must come together and listen to all of us here.
I think we want to just give people a couple more minutes to, join us. Ismail, maybe let me ask you. Last year, I think, the buzzword was uncertainty. Remember, there was the Ukraine war. We saw, prices spike up. We saw interest rates rising. Home prices obviously staying fairly firm. So this year, what's if you look into your crystal ball?
I think if I don't know whether you want to look at my crystal ball, but if I think that if we ask this question to 10 people, what will their answer be? Maybe for those of them who are in the chat group, how about they answering it, and I want to see what is their opinion in the Zoom. What do you think is going to be this year like? I mean, Suring just posted a question. Last year, the theme was uncertainty. What about this year? Maybe we would like to know how you feel, rather than it's only just our opinion thinking like that. I won't be surprised, a lot of people may end up texting in to say greater uncertainty. Yep. Could well be. I'm not so sure. Maybe it's good for us to also hear from you. But I look at it, the main thing here for this year will be greater choices. In a way, more opportunities. Because we know the number of new launches have increased from last year. Barely about what, 7,000?
Last year, based on the URA numbers, only 4,000
4,000 plus.
Yeah.
And this year we are talking about almost 12,000.
Including EC, yes.
Yeah, including EC. So almost close to 3 times in terms of supply side. And as well as there are many other opportunities I see. So basically, more choices, opportunities, and truly a time where people can reorganize their portfolio.
Kelvin, what about you? What's your key theme?
If you ask me, this year I really look at things in a very, I would say it's very certain. The certainty means what, right? At least you know, first thing in mind here is that the interest rate now you are paying is one of the highest, right? At least you know it's safe. Second, I think the other thing here is because of the cooling measure, because of all this so-called constraint, right? It gives the price so-called a certainty to be stable. I think that's important. If let's say honestly, if there's no interest rate issue, there's no cooling measure, I don't know what happened to the property prices in Singapore, which I definitely think that is very unstable to do so. But now it's much more clearer. At least we know that everything become more stable. I think this is good, because so that everyone has an opportunity to do something. And that's the reason why later on, right, in fact, we will be covering some of the content that let you see on how interest rate people take advantage.
Yep.
we also will be touching on what are the cause of the factor that actually sees an opportunity for people. And this is something that you must stay true, because we're going to tell you in a short while. And all this is not because we just say because we like to say. All these are actually supported based on the research done by one serene group of people, and they definitely have the answer for you. Because I think at the end of the day, what we do not want here is to make emotional choices. I think what we want to do here is to make the logical choices, and that is the reason why we have created some statistics and information so that you know what is best for you guys here. Later on, stay tuned, you have all your answer. And in fact, I see some of the question that's talking about this interest rate, talking about all these things. Exactly, this is what we're going to cover in a short while later. Hopefully that will answer some of your queries. But if you think that you have any more questions, just feel free to ask us. All right, see you we will discuss in the short
Yeah,
while.
but of course we will. Yes.
So, stay with us though. So if you know someone who's not been watching, ask them to join us. I think we'll jump straight in because we have quite a lot to cover.
Oh, yes.
We do have some slides for you. So, very quickly, I would like to basically go through some of the key pointers. I think what we want to start with is that, today's topic, really, this paradigm shift in the market. So later on, I'll get Kelvin and Ismail to talk a little bit about what exactly, is this shift. Very quickly, I think we want to go through the agenda. We have actually 4 different sections. So where do we start? What can I afford? What is the right time to enter the market? Is there one? And also, finally, where are the pockets of opportunities that we see this year? I think very quickly, I want to just touch on this because, this was very recent. If you recall recently the budget announcement, the government announced an increase in the marginal buyer stamp duty. So they also actually announced a couple other measures relating to the HDB segment. So if you look at this slide here, so the first one was what I referred to earlier, the BSD rates increase for higher value residential and non-residential property. So we're looking at about 1 to 2% increase for higher value residential as well as non-residential. The other 2 points, one would be the increase in the CPF housing grant, and then we can talk a little bit about that very briefly shortly. And then the other one is actually prioritizing first-timers for BTO application. So I just want to go through this very quickly because you guys would have read a lot of it in the media. So looking at the CPF housing grant, previously it was eligible first-timers could get up to 160,000. Now that's gone up to 190,000. If you need more of these details, if you're interested in getting a HDB resale flat, always reach out to a PropNext agent. They would have all these details for you. Looking at the marginal buyer stamp duty, we looked at about 1% to 2% percentage increase. Ismail, I want to just bring you in here very quickly, right? Do you think this will actually impact home sales?
I truly don't think, because I think the government has calibrated so well in the sense that people who really need to upgrade, they will not see a huge impact. Let's talk about the BSD. When you exactly said, I think there's a slide that probably if you look at it to highlight here is this. For properties that are below $1.5 million, technically there aren't any increment. Therefore, generally all HDB properties are not going to be affected at all. And even for private property, on average, the HDB upgraders quantum are about $2 million. At $2 million, we are only talking about a $5,000 being the additional stamp duties. Anyone who's going to upgrade, having a great excitement about their future, building wealth and so on, a $5,000 is not going to deter them. Therefore, I think these are very fair calibration. So the market is not in any way going to take a back seat because of the recent announcement. Okay. But on the other hand, Suyin, the fact that you said that for HDB, 30,000 more additional grant, and that is substantial.
Yes.
Truly substantial. A lot of people have not seen it is because actually if someone who've got 30,000 additional, if their incomes are relatively positive, they qualify to get a property worth another $100,000 more. Why do I say that? You need to come out at 25%. The 30,000 you can leverage to take another $75,000 of loan, and therefore the options are wider when you want to buy HDB. Therefore, I think the market is going to be resilient.
Okay, that's good to know. That's positive. I just want to quickly carry on to the next slide here. It's on the marginal buyer stamp duty for the commercial properties. So again, we're looking at fairly marginal changes, and I was talking to our investment sales and commercial property folks as well, and they are also similarly not thinking that this would have any massive impact, because a lot of investors or developers buying sites, they are led more by the redevelopment potential of the site and future growth potential. So they're not too fast about the transaction cost. And at this juncture, right, I think, Kelvin and Ismail, a lot of people are asking, okay, so if I'm keen, but looking at the macro environment, looking at interest rate, where do I start, right? So people are concerned about, just now, Kelvin, you mentioned 4% interest rates. Also, later on, we'll touch on this, the prices are up. So, is real estate still viable? And a viable avenue to sort of grow wealth. Here I think I want to just get both of you to share some of your experience, being quite seasoned, property investors, and also being in this industry for such a long time. Ismail, I think I want to just hand it over to you.
Okay.
To
Fine.
talk through.
Good. Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, if I just look at it, when this is, I just want to share my journey. For that matter, I did not come from a very rich family to start with. Very humble growings. My parents had I had 5 siblings, actually 6 children, but fortunately my youngest was a sister, 5 boys. We all grew up in a 1-bedroom house. That means there's no room. My dad's and mom's privacy is only a curtain, but they were very clever lah. Yeah. So, but we 5 of us like sardines just sleep. And that's how we grew up. So the desire for me is to break out of it. And how did the journey started was, for me, if I just share, my first property was just a HDB resale flat. I think I've just put it into the Zoom. I mean, if people would be able to see that, it is, yes, yeah, a HDB 3-room flat at Jalan Batu, our first matrimonial home. And I mean, I started life as simple as anyone, and it was the biggest pride of my life to have a roof over my head. But the thing here is this, the journey did not stop there. So you see, people, some of the things, even Kelvin, sometimes people are always thinking about, they say that your time and my time cannot compare, it's different. Mr. Ismail, Kelvin, what story are y'all telling? Yeah, last time where got ABSD. But that's not the point. The point here is this, I could have chosen to remain in my HDB until now and spend all the money in many things, ma.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm not talking about even buying a second property. But what I did was, after some time, when I had that little savings, the next step was for me to upgrade to another property that was a condominium. And I bought it within my means, because when I sold my HDB, and the next property was Normanton Park. And those days when I bought that particular property was at $90,000. And I mean, if I'm looking at my slides, hopefully those people who are looking at the Zoom, you can see that. I bought it in 1988 for $90,000, Normanton Park. Yeah, obviously you can't recognize the person who's standing there because he has got a mustache and so on. I was a very young man at that time. But the thing here is this, again, it was my pride. Every time I buy a property, it gives me a lot of excitement. Yep, so, but you see the size of my TV, my goodness, how the hell did I settle to have my life on a 14-inch TV? My goodness. Yep, so that's history, right? But having said that all, we sold that property just within 2 years, because I had a stronger desire to build capital. Because then that's where I push on, and we bought our first inter-terrace house. But by the standard in 1990, $610,000 was a huge amount of money. You won't believe it, Kelvin, and maybe even Suing, and for those listeners, literally almost every other seniors, because I was in the armed forces at that time, advised me not to buy the property. Because in 1990, if you remember, an inter-terrace house in the resale market was only about $480,000, $500,000. But I was excited about buying a new also, because I wanted to pay little deposit and progressive payment, because I don't have a lot of money in those days. Yep. But the thing here is this, those people who advised me not to buy, they regretted hugely. This is something that probably we can explain later. And that's where thereafter I sold my inter-terrace house, made some little money, and it took me some time before I could afford to own 2 different properties. And on the left hand side is something I bought, a semi-detached house for 525,000, but it is not an exciting house. Yep, it is, but the land was 3,735 square foot, but it is really doctors who look after all the pets. What do you call it?
Vet.
A vet, yes, a vet.
Even if you were to keep until today, it's worth more than that.
Yes.
Don't know how
Today
much
for
will be.
525, you can't even buy a 4-room at Serangoon. Yep. But this is near Kovan MRT. But because I had some surplus, that was the first time I bought a second property, which was at Mandarin Garden, a studio apartment, and we stayed at the Mandarin Garden. Okay, I don't want to tell the rest of the journey, but what am I trying to say here is this. Even today, there's a 3 years of seller stamp duty, whatever it is. People should take a very active approach to evaluating whether it's your property an asset or liability over time. If you have the means, how you can push yourself to move. That was my little journey.
So Ismail, why do you want to talk about all this?
Okay, there's only one objective. It is never about bragging about. If I want to brag about, I don't talk about my old properties. I should be talking about my current properties. That's not the objective. The objective here is this. Every one of us have to start somewhere. And the first property is always an HDB, is perfectly all right. I mean, we were all not lucky to start. I didn't have my parents giving me something, nothing. So it's only within our means. But my message is simple. Every one of us can move up the ladder. But in order to move up the ladder, we need to have a good understanding of the market and what steps are we going to take that is safe. That's all my objective.
That's also the reason why today we decided to talk a little bit more about our journey, not because we want to brag about the journey, but I think a lot of people always think, hey, Kelvin and Ismail, how can it be we are not so lucky as you? The truth of the matter here is that you asked me 20 years ago before I joined the real estate, I wouldn't be able to tell myself that I can own what I have today. The only thing here is that whether do we take action. But the good news here is luckily we are in this trade.
Yeah.
We got the knowledge, we got the skill set from some of the gurus out there, and we just need to learn how to go about doing it, and eventually we do it, and eventually we have grown in that sense. And today both of us are very blessed to be here, not to talk so much about what we have, but to really share with you, is there an opportunity? The most important is to have a growth mindset, right? Because once you have a growth mindset, you are always ready to what? To learn. So when you're ready to learn, what must you do? You will take action, right? Because that is the most ultimate aim. At the end of the day, it's not about buying a house, selling a house. In today's market, it's beyond that. And that's the reason why both of us are very into this, because we really want to tell you guys how you can actually go about doing it in a systematic way, in a safe manner, so that you don't have to stress over yourself. I mean, the last thing that we want to do here is to tell our customers out there, right, to be stressed over about properties.
Yep.
And that's the last thing that we want to do here. We want people to be comfortable.
And Kelvin, I think, what about how was your journey, in fact? Yeah.
So for me, of course, today I can only share one thing here is that, right, this is my first HDB flat, 4-room flat, right? I mean, I also not so lucky, If not of my father-in-law, I don't think I can bought a HDB flat. That time only pay COV, cash over valuation, $5,000. Also, I told my wife I cannot afford to buy BTO because I'm an Air Force regular. I cannot imagine when I come out that time, right, I got to pay installment for renovation. I tell my wife, no, cannot. So eventually we settled for a 5 years MOP HDB 4-room flat where we don't need to do much renovation. I so-called paint the whole house, everything. I mean, why are we telling you this? Because why? This property, even we start off as a HDB, the most important here is what? At least we take that one step forward. But because of this HDB, right, it tells me one thing, I have to work harder because everything is going to be paid by myself. Last time, everything our parents paid, so we don't feel the pain of that. But when we actually own it, I think it's totally different. And that's the reason why I always tell people, at the end of the day, no matter what you can afford today, most important is to get started. If you don't get started, forever you are in complacent mode. And our age keep moving forward. And you probably feel yourself that, right? If for those people in the property, you're looking at properties, you just look at the last 3 years, you will know how much has it changed. I think that's a critical point. So, I mean, to me here is that today I'm fortunate enough to own also a couple of properties here and there, mainly because of the strategies that we have put in place. How we actually leverage our information. How can we be the first mover to understand about market? And that's the reason why the three of us here has only have one clear agenda tonight. is to give you information for you to make a better decision on what you should do next. I always think that, Ismail, every crisis, actually there's always an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just that people doesn't know how to go about doing it.
Yeah.
And that is really a sad truth because
Yeah.
the window is only that much.
Yeah.
But a lot of people like to buy when everybody is rushing.
No, I mean, exactly, if I just cut you here before we continue
Yes.
with showing whatever, I would just want to say in 30 seconds, I want to just reinforce this. After every thunderstorm, there's calmness, there's sunshine.
Yep.
Every crisis bring fear, and after the crisis, even in every crisis, there's a silver lining. Because of the fear, we can't see the rainbow.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But what are we trying to do here is this. We are trying to bring in the next 1 hour enough updates that for you to have the foresight to see the rainbow and the silver linings in the real estate market.
Yep. I think that's our clear objective tonight.
Yeah.
You know, you guys have shared your own journey. I think, Kelvin, one question really, a lot of people are asking is, can I actually afford it? Look at the
Yep.
prices today.
Yep.
So if you could share with us maybe
Sure.
an illustration
Sure.
on how a couple, say maybe with a $15,000 income.
I think this is a very valid question here is because a lot of people thinking that I can't, I don't think I'm possible because every day is just working and working. And the sad truth is that does working really helps you a lot. You can work, it's important to work, but you must also plan ahead. But the problem here is that straight away the thinking process here is that can I afford better? I shift the mindset to what? I cannot. But I think that is not right. I think whether can afford or not is about how you actually play with numbers. So that's the reason why today I actually want to share with you something. In fact, this is a couple that I just want to share with you a case study. And if you ask me, actually this is a real case study. Just that I make it into a case study for people to understand. If you look at this particular case study, actually the current couple, right, actually own an EC worth 1.3 million. They have a combined income 15,000. A couple with 15,000 income actually at the age of 35. So the next question here is that, can I actually upgrade to a private? Should I upgrade or not? What if last time EC I only bought how much? Yeah. Why should I take the risk of upgrading? I might just well stay in this $1.3 million. Life is more comfortable. Why do I want to stretch myself? And this is exactly what I actually feel that a lot of people thinking that better be comfortable. But that is not the way, in my opinion. That's what Ismail is also. Me are also the same because why? It's not about pushing ourselves. It's more important is to keep moving forward. And I'll explain to you in a short while, right? How those people who never move forward, right? How is the impact on them? And that is crucial. So first and foremost, if this couple, for example, right? If they have a CPF fund after selling the house, about 584,000. And if they have a cash after selling, normally there's a certain profit here and there, especially EC owners out there. Because for EC owner, the next question here is that actually they bought a property 8 years ago. No? Today, actually most of them, I would say, actually sitting on profit. But there is still a lot of people thinking, should I sell? Maybe I should be comfortable because I bought so cheap, right? So if let's say this couple was to sell this property at 1.3 million, actually he will have a CPF fund of 584,000 back into the CPF account, plus a profit of 300,000 cash in the so-called assets. So the question is, can I really afford? What should we do in order to make ourselves not so stressful? So what we have done here is that first and foremost, we need to understand one thing. Why should we upgrade? I think the message must be very clear. If your agenda must be very clear before you actually make a decision out there. So the question is, why upgrade? First important thing here is that at least you protect your profit. Let's say for example, this couple is actually 1.3 million. By right, he can actually afford a 1.8 million. But he say, Kelvin, I don't want to stress myself. I just want to be comfortable. I just want to hold on to this property. At the end of the day, this person can actually own 1.8, right? Let's say for example, they are age 35 now. By the time 65 years old, you can choose to have one. Can I ask you one question? Or for those people who are actually in the Zoom now, or probably those people who are in the Ing channel or the Facebook channel, right? I want to ask all of you here, if today you qualify to own a 1.8 million, but you say no, I better stay in a 1.3 million. Whether you like it or not, every one of us take a loan until the age of 65. Eventually, we will so-called fully paid up the property at the age of 65, because the loan is only up to maximum 65. I want to ask every one of you here who are listening to me now. At the age of 65, you prefer to own a 1.3 million fully paid up property or 1.8 fully paid up property? Can you just type inside the chat group and let me know? Whether should you be 1.8 or 1.3? Oh, okay. At least I saw people are actually replying 1.8, right?
Yeah.
Of some say, I want to have both. Well, that is even better. Because why? It only shows you one thing. Why is it so important to know this? Because, you see, Ismail and myself, we only do one thing, you know. We actually look at how to build this capital so that towards the end of 65 years old, I have a good sum of money that I can actually retire. Do you realize why the government recently came up with cooling measures, say that must wait for 15 months? Because there's a lot of people who actually own an asset, they want to downgrade, their property has appreciated, and they can downgrade to a $1 million property, for example, 4 million, downgrade to 1 million HDB flat, they still have 3 million. So what am I trying to tell you here? We are just trying to let you understand one thing. First, look at how much do you want to grow your net worth. It may not be 10 million. At least you own something is better than your current 1.3 million, than 1.8, better than your 1.8. I mean, it's better to hold on to a 1.8 million than a 1.3. Second, very important, you protect your profit. You protect your capital. Whatever the amount that you get from here, right, where does it go to? To
Plow
your-
back.
Yeah, plow back.
to your 1.8 million. So, which means that today, right, you actually protect your profit and capital already. And now your net value in terms of your asset is at 1.8 million. So to us, it's very simple. It's not about making profit. To us, it's about building capital so that your retirement, right, can be more sustainable and so that your future can be taken care. Especially the younger group of people. I mean, honest truth here is that to save enough is never easy. You need to know how to build your capital and let your income help you to grow your wealth. Exactly what Ismail has shared, right? Just now, Ismail come from a regular Air Force, right? Army,
yeah,
right?
army.
So, how does he use his income? Assets, sir?
Yeah.
But if he never do that, what will happen?
I'll still be in the army. No lah, I retire.
Right? So you probably would
Yeah,
not
yeah.
see what you have
Yeah,
today.
yeah,
Right?
really
So
right,
for us,
really
it's the